Welcome to the Three Ranger Bros audio library.
The home to audio dramas created by the Three Ranger Bros themselves.
Here they have built stories as a team, coming together with their storytelling ability and creating new tales and adventures for you guys to listen to.
These stories have been worked on by the Three Bros, and here we have a channel dedicated to them.
All the stories in this channel have been worked on by all three bros. Each story is crafted.
Then they make their own unique original characters, which they will do the voices of.
They explore many different fandoms and give unique takes and ideas within their favorite fictional worlds.
And best of all, they have created this channel to invite you, the listener, to join them in these fantastic tales. So strap in and dive into the Three Ranger Bros audio library.
Power Rangers Global, Chapter 1, The Heroes Meet. Brohan stood and watched as his new home of Aswan, Egypt was under attack by a group of mummies, with blasters and blades as weapons. He saw his new team of rangers walk through 4 separate portals. "Time to see how they do," Brohan whispered to himself. The 4 men walked out of the portals. Mark stood there and saw the group of mummies shooting their blasters all over the place, causing mayhem and destruction.
Looks like they need help.
Mark barked as he saw a bunch of civilians running away.
"You must be the leader,"
Eric said as he walked up to Mark and held out his hand.
I'm guessing I am. My name is Mark. Nice to meet you.
Mark said, shaking Eric's hand. Then Lip walked up to them and walked through them, pushing past. "Name's Philip, Lip for short. There's a bunch of mummies we have to take care of," Lip grunted.
"I'm Eric, and yes, you have a point."
Eric sighed. The 3 men stood there, ready to morph. "Alright, fearless leader, lead the way," Lip grinned.
"It's morphin' time!"
Mark called out. Mark held out his Cornish power morpher, and it popped open.
"Kono Bisficken!"
Mark called out. Then the morpher dematerialized, leaving the coin floating there. Mark then morphed into his ranger suit. His helmet formed over his head. Then the coin started spinning and it flew at Mark, hitting Mark in the chest. The coin shattered, and Mark's Cornish chest shield formed around him. Mark had morphed into the red Cornish Ranger. Eric held out his fist. His green Celtic ring started to glow.
"Nire knock, Kilchuck!"
Eric called out. Then he held up his fist into the air, and suddenly a Celtic rune formed above him. He then lowered his arm, and the rune lowered itself down, and it phased over Eric, his ranger suit forming over him as the rune descended down. As the rune touched the ground, it vanished. Eric had morphed into the gold Celtic Ranger. Lip held out his arm. Ra appeared behind him and sunk his talons into his forearm. White veins rippled through his wrist, and a wristbound morpher appeared, in the shape of a falcon head. Lip then held out his black crystal scarab. Its wings opened and the key extended. He then opened the falcon's mouth and placed the key inside, and then closed the mouth down. "Capra!" Lip called out. Then the falcon eyes started to glow, and the energy wave pulsed from his morpher, and it wrapped around Lip's entire body, forming into his ranger suit. Ra, the god of the sun, then merged into Lip's body, and his helmet formed around his head. Lip had morphed into the white Egyptian Ranger of Ra. The red Cornish Ranger, the Ranger of Ra, and the gold Celtic Ranger all stood there ready to fight.
OMG!
A voice called out behind them. The 3 rangers turned around to see Elias stood there, his hands on his cheeks, his mouth dropped wide open.
You're Mark, in the flesh. And I know you. You trained Dante and you helped out Albert.
Elias grinned as he pointed to the 3 rangers stood before him. He walked up and stroked the red Cornish Ranger's shield on his chest. Then he glazed over the gold Celtic Ranger's helmet. "You touch me, and I will cut you," the Ranger of Ra grunted.
"Are you a ranger also?"
The gold Celtic Ranger asked him.
I got told there was 4 of us.
The red Cornish Ranger told them.
Yes, sorry. My bad. I have been a huge fan of you guys. My dad used to write a lot about you guys. Well, Ty and my version of Mark was involved, and
Elias rambled.
You've got a point?
The red Cornish Ranger barked, interrupting him.
yes, give me a second.
Elias muttered. He straightened himself up, then prepared himself to morph. Elias pulled off his necklace and crushed the crystal in his hand. The energy that came from the crystal formed into a sword sheathed in its shield. Elias grabbed the handle, which extended from the top of the shield, and pulled the sword out and held it up to the sky.
Verdenskraft, Volven Verde.
Elias called out. Then the blue energy seeped out of its blade and it formed around him. Then the energy formed into his ranger suit. His horns grew from his helmet as he sheathed his sword. Elias had morphed into the blue Viking Ranger. As the blue Viking Ranger stood there, they all formed their ranger team and stood there ready for battle. The mummies stopped and looked at the 4 rangers. The red Cornish Ranger was a red ranger with a golden armor chest shield that had a Cornish flag in the shape of a diamond on it. His helmet also was black and resembled the Cornish flag. The blue Viking Ranger was a bulking blue ranger with Viking horns on his head. His visor resembled that of a Viking helmet. He had fur padding around his neck that draped over his shoulders and had a Norse rune on his chest. He carried his sword in the shield as a sheath. The gold Celtic Ranger was a gold ranger with black arms and boots, with gold gloves and legs. His helmet resembled that of somewhat of a knight. He had an armoured shoulder pad, and a black zigzag pattern ran diagonally down his chest. The Ranger of Ra was a white ranger with a bird-shaped helmet that had wings under his arms and claws folded back around his wrist. His chest had the outline of a golden pyramid on it. The 4 rangers dropped into their fighting stances. The mummies ran at the team. The red Cornish Ranger summoned the power lance and started swinging it around in circles, slashing down 2 mummies at once. He then jabbed the lance forward and it struck another mummy. He then stabbed one end into the ground, and then spun around, lifting himself up, running his feet across several mummies, kicking them along the way. He landed and returned the lance. He then summoned the power axe, and slashed down more mummies as he did. He shifted into the axe into blast mode, and started blasting down the group of mummies. The blue Viking Ranger ran into the group, and jumped forward, ramming his shield into one of the mummies, crushing the mummy into the ground. He then stood, he swung his sword and slashed down several more mummies. He then spun his sword around in his hand and then stabbed it into the ground. Suddenly a blast of water erupted from the ground and started spinning around him, creating a whirlpool which grabbed and threw several mummies across the place. He then pulled out his sword out of the ground and the water disappeared. He held up his sword, deflecting an incoming attack. Then he booted the mummy across the place. As he booted it into the chest, the mummy flew back and flew across the battlefield. The gold Celtic Ranger jumped in and rolled forward. Landing on one knee, he rammed his fist into a mummy's stomach, and then he jumped onto both feet as he struck a mummy in the stomach with his knee, and then he struck the mummy in the chest and the back of the neck with his palm. Then he spun around and kicked the mummy as hard as he could in the head, making the mummy fall off his feet. He then backflipped, kicking a mummy as he did, his feet coming back around in mid-flip. He then struck another mummy before landing on his feet once more. He caught a mummy's fist quickly before it could strike him, and pulled the mummy in, striking the mummy in the face quickly with multiple punches, before kneeing it in the stomach, then lifted the mummy up and threw the mummy over his head, dropping it on the floor. He then held out his hand, and a javelin appeared in a flash of golden light. He spun it around, smacking several mummies, before he ran up one mummy, kicking it off its chest, launching himself in the air, throwing the javelin as he did, which struck the mummy down. The Ranger of Ra jumped up, and his wings extended, and he took flight. He glided into the group and snagged one of the mummies up in the air and threw it up, double kicking it, sending it flying back. He then flew up into the air and dove back down, and he crashed himself on top of a mummy. He then blocked an incoming blade attack with his forearm. His talons extended from his wrists and attached themselves onto his fingers, forming his talons. He then used his free arm to slash the attacking mummy across the chest, and then jumped up and kicked it in the head. Using his fight ability, he kept afloat and grabbed one mummy and lifted it off its feet. Then with both talons he delivered a flurry of scratches before kicking the mummy into 2 more. He then landed on his feet. One mummy aimed its blaster and shot several blasts at the Ranger of Ra. He crossed his arms, overlapping his wings, making them into a shield blocking the blast. He then swung his arms out, and metallic blades in the shape of feathers fired from his wings, the feather blades mowing down the mummy. The Rangers made quick work of the mummies, their inner dark, ghostly essence vanishing, leaving the piles of dirty bandages on the floor. The Rangers grouped up and all demorphed.
Well, that went surprisingly well.
Mark said, rather impressed.
I apologize about before. I'm Elias, by the way.
Elias said awkwardly. No problem, man. I think we're all kind of new here. Lip sighed.
Does anyone else find this a tad weird?
Eric asked them.
Trust me, I have been exploring the multiverse. It's gonna be weird staying in one place now.
Mark replied. Excuse me, exploring the multiverse? Lip asked him. Yes, you all hail from other universes, the voice called out. The four men turned to see the older gentleman in nice brown suit stood before them. My name is Brohan, and I'm here to aid you Rangers on this quest to vanquish the evil in this world, the man explained.
You mean Loki?
Mark asked.
Did he say Loki like the Norse god trickster dude pointy horns guy?
Elias asked in shock. Yes, Loki rules over the gods and their kingdom, which is placed within the clouds beyond our reach. He has all gods, deities, and mythical creatures under his alliance. Whether they choose to be there or not is a different matter, Brohan confirmed. I actually have information on that. Lip piped up. I know. Please, come on. Follow me. I have a place that we can use as a base. We can chat a bit more, privately. Brohan gestured. The four men followed Brohan up the set of steps which led into a museum, and Brohan led them into his office, which sat in the ancient library section.
You own this place?
Elias asked, confused. Yes, this is my museum and ancient library, and we will be using this as a base of operation. There's a basement where you can make yourselves at home. You can train and survey the planet as you will, Brohan explained.
Can we get to Loki now?
Mark asked harshly. Yeah, I think this is where I need to step in, Lip stated. Everyone turned to Lip.
Lip, right? What you got?
Eric asked him. Lip sighed, then suddenly two bursts of light emanated from him, and suddenly 2 9-feet tall beings stood there. They were incorporeal, one white and gold, lanky and had the head of a falcon. The other was bulky and black and gold, with the head of a jackal. I give you Ra and Anubis, the 2 missing gods of this universe. Lip sighed. Ra, Anubis. It's been too long. You left your prison cells. I'm glad you found your way home, Brohan jeered.
What the heck is that?
Eric barked in shock.
Ain't gods evil here?
Mark asked, confused. That is a part of your mission. All things god level to mystical creature level is under brainwash or they follow Loki. Some of them are not evil per se. Most are, though. By defeating their armies, you weaken the gods and the creatures. By doing that, you can beat them in battle, and use your power, your light, your driving force that made you accept this mission. And as a team, you can vanquish Loki's grasp on their mind. Then the gods can start healing the world, and make do to what they want. Philip here is an example of how the morphing grid works here. God and deities can gift it to humans if they so please. They can make avatars, aka Power Rangers, to those higher beings, but they forgot how to, Brohan explained.
Makes sense, that's why you were the Ranger of Ra.
Eric stated. Lip just nodded in response.
So, we break down Loki's army, and then what? What about Nephus?
Mark asked. Eric looked at Mark, who stood all stern and stiff, like he wasn't backing down, and he wasn't going to stop till Loki was done for.
How about we take this one step at a time?
Eric suggested. Who's Nephus? Lip asked.
Royal Blue Ranger. Mark's nemesis.
Elias explained. Everyone kind of looked at Elias, who sat there with a big nerdy grin on his face. Then suddenly, there was a big bang outside of the office. Everyone turned to the door.
Damn it!
A young girl voice snapped from behind the door. Himiko, is that you? Brohan called out as he walked past the rangers and over to the door. He opened it, and Himiko was knelt picking up several books that she had just knocked off the counter. Himiko, what are you doing here? Brohan asked.
I came in early to prepare for my shift.
Himiko explained. She stood up and placed the books down, then sorted out her glasses. Everyone walked up to Brohan and Himiko. All looked very awkward at Brohan's assistant.
Well, I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Himiko. Nice to meet you. Rangers?
Himiko said awkwardly. The 4 rangers looked at each other. Shocked and confused filled the room. Then they looked back at Brohan and Himiko. Himiko stood there with a small smile.
What you have just listened to is a product created by the 3 Ranger Bros Studio.
Hosted by 3 cosplaying fathers who
happen to be massive geeks of all sorts of fandoms.
They are Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger,
Cosplay Dude 637,
and Tai Tiger.
The studio covers different types of YouTube videos, TikToks, podcasts, and live streams.
If you wish to find out who cosplays who, the YouTube channel, the TikTok accounts, and the podcasts, and all of the other social media platforms,
please go to the 3rangerbrosstudios.com.